So I'm going to invite you all to feel into your body. Just really feel your feet relax on the floor. And get a sense of moving the energy from your head into your heart center. We're going to take a couple of deep breaths now into our heart center. And just if you get any thoughts, just let them just drift on by and just feel that you're moving into the language of feeling, which is your heart. And you're letting go of the language of thinking, which is your head. So you're really, really centered now in your heart center. And feel the kind of expanse here, the expansion and the lack of opinion. Just a feeling space. And just check in now with how you're feeling right now in this moment. And see a little light go on in your heart center. And feel your heart center now fill with light. And feel that light now travel all around your body. See all your cells light up. And now just get a sense that the light is filling the room and it's connecting all the hearts in the room. Just feel yourself connecting to all the other hearts in the room, kind of like a little filament of light going between us all. A sense of connection, sense of community, sense of being in a tribe. And now we're just going to fill the room up with as much light as we possibly can. And know that it's within our power to decide what frequency we wish to inhabit. And we'll choose a frequency of appreciation, of love, and fill the room with that frequency. And now just for the fun, we're going to send that love and appreciation all around the city of Dublin right now. Into all the pubs, into all the pints, into all the whiskies. Send that energy of appreciation and love all around the city right now and see it light up. And now suck that energy back into your own heart again and feel recentered again. Come back to yourself. Feel yourself grounded back in your heart center. Place your hand on your heart. And we'll do one more deep breath together. On the out breath, feel yourself grounding into the earth. Feel the roots going into the earth. And I ask you now to remain in your heart center as much as you can for this evening. Take what resonates and let go of the rest. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Just do a head count and see nobody's shifted dimension while we did that meditation. Are they all still here, Ella? Can you see them?
See.
Okay, you have your notes there, don't you, with those 8 principles?
Yeah.
Do you remember them all?
Maybe. Can
you slip that to me for a second? I'm going to have a little scan. Okay. While I'm doing that, I just wanted to ask you. So we gave her a big welcome, didn't we? We give her another welcome. It's great to have you here with us. We've seen you do so much stuff. You're like, you're flying it,
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank
You're
you.
really getting the word out, which is brilliant.
I've been coming to you for years by myself, so it's nice to be here now.
Oh, the events, yeah. Oh, great, great. Okay, great. So, I suppose if you give people a sense of, how it all started for you and your childhood and how the gift kind of emerged,
Yeah.
at the beginning for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have always been highly sensitive since I was a child, and I never really understood what that was. I always felt like I was an alien. I'm sure a lot of you guys can maybe resonate with that. And yeah, so I struggled a lot in school, and growing up, I was failing everything. I was diagnosed with dyslexia, dyspraxia, and I never felt like I fully belonged. I'd eat, lunch in the school, the bathroom in school. And so one day I was in the back of math class, and it was the first time I believe I heard the voice of spirit, and it said the words drop out of school. And obviously I went home, my mom was not happy, but I'd already made up that decision. And so that was like the first call for me. And so for, I would say, a week, I was just still a little bit confused what was happening. And my brother, God bless him, filled up the bookshelf with like 200 self-development books and spiritual books. And so one day he handed me a book. I don't know if anyone knows it, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Joe. Yeah, everyone's like, that's an OG book. Yeah. And so in that moment, I realized that the fear I'd been experiencing my whole life wasn't real at such a young age. And this blew my mind. I was like, why the hell has nobody told us this? Why hasn't school told us this? And so I'd always wanted to start YouTube. So I went home and I started YouTube that day, reading that book. And I started getting into self-development and mindfulness. But it wasn't until I was about 20 and I was in Canada, and I was still feeling very lost. And I said a prayer. Even at the time, I was still kind of an atheist. Like, I was strong in the believing that there was nothing outside of this. Otherwise, why was I feeling such fear and pain for so long? And so I said a call, I said a prayer, and I was guided into this bookstore called Indigo, which I find convenient that that's the name of the bookstore now, because the Indigo Souls. And I went to this bookstore and I went upstairs and I saw this book. I don't know if you know Super Attractor by Gabrielle Bernstein.
I know who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was my first experience where everything was shifting, is that I saw myself on the cover and I thought I was going crazy, because I looked at this book, I saw my face on it. It was like gleaming, it had like a glowing pink aura. And so obviously I bought it and I ran home and I started reading it, and it was about angels and it was about the universe and God and source and all of this. And it was as if overnight, it was just a shift of knowing that this was cellularly true. Like every cell in my body knew that this was true. And so I read that back to front within like a day. And then from that day forward, angels started coming to me, guides started coming to me. It literally happened overnight for me from that book. And I feel like that was like an awakening of my soul, like remembering. And so from there, I started practicing my psychic gifts, offering psychic gifts, traveling the world, and I've done over 1,000 readings, and started sharing my journey from that day forward on YouTube about my spiritual awakening, because obviously you guys know it's a crazy ride. So yeah.
It's quite so many things happening in the world now that you just cannot argue with it anymore. We are in, so many people's gifts are coming true, so strongly.
Yeah.
So how does it present for you when you say that you connect more or less with the angelic realm? Is that all the guys we know, like Michael and all the kind of archangels and stuff like that?
There's so much more than
Is there?
just the 12. Yeah. I call them unemployed angels, and I encourage everyone, I'm actually serious. I encourage everyone to connect to them, because there's so much people that don't believe in them, that they just have nothing to do. And I believe if you want to call on any unemployed angel and ask them to facilitate you, support you in anything, they will. And there was actually a story. I met this woman, and she essentially told her friend who could see psychically angels, and said that they're hiring. So she hired 2 angels to ask them to do something, I don't know. And she woke up in the middle of the night and there was like 100 in her room being like, you're hiring, like, give us something to do. So I started doing it. I hired a marketer. I hired like an editor for my channel. Like, I literally wrote, I think, like 90 different assistants down in my notebook to ask me with different things. And I can't express the alignment that started happening in my life. I know it sounded crazy. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want them concerned, but it was working. They would give me guidance on what I needed to do, where I needed to go. And it literally was the most magical year of my life, like choosing to do it that way. They guided me to a million different things. And I encourage everyone to call on an unemployed angel or ask their guardian angel to give them a sign. You can ask them for like a physical thing. If it's like I don't know, a red balloon, or I don't know, for me, it was a pig. I asked for a pig. And I went on a walk later that day, and I was living in Canada at the time. And there was what do you call them when people leave like their stuff out of the front yard to like sell?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like a sale of work on it.
Yeah, there was a giant pig statue like this size. And I was like, what is going on? And that was the day I started reading the book. So from that moment forward, it was just continuing to strengthen that faith.
And when when you work with angels like that, and it's funny because I interviewed Lorna Byrne like maybe 8 years ago, something like that. And she told me that there was all these angels we had a camera crew, and she said, there's all these angels here in the room and they're just scratching themselves because they have nothing to do. They're unemployed.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll give them something to do, You have to pay these guys? No.
No, you just have to ask. You just have to ask, and they love appreciation.
How do they work with your guides in terms of the way we all have a guardian angel or a team of guides that work with us, could be family members, could be, how does the angelic realm kind of work with those? Like, do they synchronize together?
Yeah, I believe they're at a higher realm and they feel a lot lighter. The difference between guides and angels is angels are like your grandmother. Like they're going to be nurturing, they're going to be loving, they're going to be kind to you. They're going to say, everything's going to be okay. Focus on the love. Guides are a lot more on the earth plane. They're stronger. She's like, I know. They're stricter. So they want you to get dirty in the lessons. And so when I started connecting to angels for like a year, I noticed I was almost like gliding by in life. And then my guides were like, you need to get into the experience now. So angels are a lot more loving. They're like a nurturing mother, whereas your guides will tell you exactly straight how it is and guide you to what you need to do. But they're all for the higher purpose of love. So It just depends what you're guided and what you feel resonant to in that moment. So if it is angels and you need softening, I know for people who are going through grief or, really hard times or feeling their heart are closed or they're depressed, angels are such a soother. But if you're in more of that like forceful needing kind of like inspiration to take action, spirit guides are definitely your go-to.
And we talked about this a little bit before we came up. We are experiencing on the planet, and I just want to go there briefly, a little bit of trickiness going on, right? That we've seen over the last few years, kind of control mechanisms and systems kind of coming down, How much attention do we need to give that, do you find? And what's the optimum way to kind of move through that, at the moment?
My guides always say that when you have the information, you are in the light. So when you are aware of what is going on in the world in your own perspective and you're conscious of that, that is enough, but it's about us not feeding into that. So it's kind of like they give me the analogy of if, you're in a dark room and you hear like squealing or screaming or something, obviously you're scared. But if you turn on the light and you see there's like a little bird in the corner who's lost, at least you feel safer knowing what that is. So it's about acknowledging kind of what is going on in the world. But then they show me that you didn't come here to feed into that energy and to then enhance that field and make it even bigger, because I did that for a year and I got really sick. They show me that it's about you creating your own new system, your own new matrix. It's just kind of like what the laws they show me is that if we inhibit joy and we inhibit love and we inhibit happiness within our own vortex, we're actually infiltrating what we're seeing. And it's very counter, like a paradox, I guess you could say. But they continue to show me that that is why everyone is here. It's to inhabit and to anchor that light within themselves and to lead by example, essentially. So, I think there's a process for everything. Like when a flower grows, there's obviously going to be a time when everyone's engrossed with it. I was obsessed with conspiracy theories for like a year. Like you couldn't have a normal conversation with me without being like, this is what is happening. And like pull up my whiteboard and I'm like drawing a grid and I'm like, this is what's going on Earth. But then I became really sick and my guides were showing me that I was actually going to war within myself and I was going to battle within myself. I wanted to fight. I wanted to like fight for the world and the country and Earth. But it was showing me that that was actually creating separation and destruction within my being. And it just became, I was so sick. I couldn't see. I was like fainting all the time. I was just so weak in energy. And that's when they really stepped in and were like, you're now here to purely be in joy and happiness and let that be like the ripple that it needs to be in the world.
That's kind of the revolution, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
To get into your heart and hold that frequency, hold that space,
It's hard, but it's what we're here to do.
It was very hard at the beginning, because I think a lot of people get into kind of that kind of stuff, conspiracy theories, or let me see a show of hands from all you conspiracy theories. Huh?
Your last sentence.
to inhibit joy, like to create your own vortex, your own matrix, your own system of love and light within your being, and let that ripple out. Yeah.
Such a power in it, you know, such a power in it. Yeah, that was a really good answer. Thank you for that answer. That was really cool. We'll start with one of the, what do you call these now, and how do they come to you, these kind of 8 principles for navigating this time?
Yeah.
They kind of downloaded from your guides, or?
They were downloaded. So for anyone who's not aware, I've lived in 10 countries, and my guides brought me to each country to get a different law. And each country I went to had a different code or a different frequency or a different lesson that I needed to inhabit. And then they downloaded those 8 laws, because when that point came where I was done, like destructing and fighting and feeling like, okay, I'm not here to change the world in that regard, they showed me these 8 laws that were actually here to embody this new earth. Because I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have heard of like the words new earth and like what people talk about with the new earth. It's a battle of consciousness within ourselves. And so this new earth awakening is an internal journey. It's happening to everybody inside right now. So it's not about us waiting for the world to change outside of us and waiting for things to change. And I trust me, I did for a while. I was waiting. I was like, this is what's going to happen next year. And it didn't happen. And they showed me that it's about us living and breathing in the quantum, living and breathing within what we wish to see in the world now. And that is really the new earth awakening that is taking place. And we're seeing this every day with people questioning and waking up to their own divinity.
Where does all this kind of stuff that we hear about now, what's your view on all this like 5th dimensional kind of consciousness and dimensions and multidimensionality? Where does all that fit into that one, do you think?
Yeah, I laugh because I've been in that world and I'm very obsessed with that as well.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people I've come across have no awareness of this, are actually operating in that frequency. Because for me, 5D frequency is like this orange ball of light. I've always seen it like this vault. And whenever I connect to it, it is the frequency of joy, play, laughter, meaning most children are already operating in that 5D frequency. And so it's really just a frequency and operating in that system of joy. So when I think of like all these, it can be really analytical and it's amazing for the brain to understand, but it also has a real strong depth of seriousness. Like this, you know, it feels very dense, it feels very serious, it feels very proper and structured. Whereas 5D frequency for me is moving outside of the lines and just like living and breathing in joy and being silly and being fun and having that fun. And that doesn't need to be conceptualized by the mind. It needs to be conceptualized by the heart.
You hear that a lot, you know. So each country that you went to had one of these particular frequencies, shall we say. What was the one that we're, when we start with the first one you have here, love, where did you go for that one?
I feel like that is an incorporation of all of them, but I was living in Guatemala earlier this year. Okay. And the first law is really that love is an abundant source. And I'm a people watcher. If you guys are, like, I love watching people and observing people. And one thing I find is people are either running from love or they're running to love. It's what we yearn for. It's what we need. And the understanding, they always showed me like a figure of 8, and one of the 8s is abundance and the other one is love. Is that there is an abundant source of love. It's not this scarce, limited resource. And so if us as humans can embody this understanding that love is always at access for us, especially when we're feeling insecure, we're feeling sad, or we're feeling scared, or we're feeling alone, which is a reality for most people now. When I watch people, they feel lonely. I look around and people are all just so in their own heads and we're all just so disconnected from one another in community. It's understanding that that love is an abundant resource that we can call on at any time and flood that within our being. And I think that is the first thing that we can do to really embody this new earth within ourselves, is just understanding there is no limited resource. We've been taught love is very scarce and it's very conditional, but within our souls and within our psyche, like there is an ocean of love. And I really believe that is what the whole human experience is for at a higher level, because I was a psychic for so many years. So it was almost like I was seeing the world from such a higher lens and a higher perspective. And that was always the message that came back, like this whole purpose is for love. But on a human level, it might feel challenging, it might feel tricky, it might feel sticky. But on the highest lens, it's for our soul to experience this existence and to experience love.
And what does it mean? You know, we hear this all the time, to love myself, you know, I mean, it's become a little bit of a cliche in a sense. What does that really mean, do you feel, to love myself? Is it to love the divine within yourself? Is that what we're talking about here? Yeah,
it's so funny in Ireland as well. That's a very strong thing. Like, oh, she loves herself or he loves herself. And I used to get so triggered by that because at a young age, I was like, no, it's good. And I celebrate it. But I think you can understand it from the ego. You could understand it for love myself, which is, okay, this is the reason I love myself. And these are the characteristics of why I love myself. And it's a list. But when I really dove deeper into that, I really think it's just you experiencing God or the divinity or love that harbors within you, that penetrates outside of your soul. And that is what allows you to love yourself, because it's not a mental feeling. It's a knowing within your soul that you are divine and that you are love. I guess you could, like, I always see it as like bathing in pink light. And when you remember the value of your soul, that is your value, that is who you truly are, I think everything else just withers away outside of that, because you found your source, and that is love.
So when you were, when you were growing up and you were trying to get it from other people, or you were getting into relationships, when you were looking for it in the other person, you're not really going to find it, right?
No, it's always a mirror back to the self. And then that serves such a great purpose, because it never hits the source. It never hits the thing that you want. And that was like a journey I went on when I was younger, of just wanting to find that in things. So from a young age, I was like, okay, when I have this and when I have that, I'll have all these experiences. And then when I got everything I wanted at 21 years old, like, I was able to travel the world, and I had this thriving business, and I had 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and all these things that I materially wanted. And it was so terrifying, because I had to go on my knees and I had to look up and be like, still hasn't given me that hit, that feeling. And that's when it started really showing me and guiding me of that path, that it's from the soul. Yeah.
So what you're seeking is seeking you. It really is an inside job. Yeah. So the second one we have here is oneness.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I love that you said in the meditation for everyone to connect their hearts to each other, because that's what I continue to see, is that oneness is understanding that we are also one with the dark, and we are also one with the things that we want to reject. So the parts of ourselves that we feel are ugly, or we feel are wrong or shameful, or we're insecure of. Oneness has been such a healer for me, and I learned this when I was living in Bali, is understanding that every single one of us is a reflection of ourselves. And so with scarcity in the world, when we desire something and we look at another and go, okay, obviously it's a limited resource for me because this person has it. I always saw this vision of when we hook our hearts, and imagine a green cord within our heart hooked into every single person on this planet, you understand, well, if you yearn for someone else to have something, you feel so much more worthy to have it. So what my guide showed me with oneness is that when you truly, I mean, truly yearn for another person to be happy, or to be in love, or to receive health, or whatever it is that you're wanting, you immediately feel more worthy within yourself of having that, because you then see yourself in another. And so it's this understanding that everything is connected, and that when we also make love with the parts of ourselves, the parts that we want to reject or hide, we're also making peace with the outside world, which brings us into inner union and harmony, and out of that like fighter mentality, which can cause destruction and sickness in the body, because the body's designed to be in harmonious flow. It's designed to be in that equilibrium of love.
Yeah. So oneness is a beautiful, it's a beautiful feeling, to really feel that.
Yeah.
People feel that we're all one.
Yeah.
Just in this room or everywhere, all the points everywhere, the pubs everywhere.
I used to sit at the beach, and I would do this as a practice. I found it more beneficial than meditation. And I would imagine sending love to every single person that walked by for an hour, just like wishing them the best. I'd imagine like a green light just pouring out. And that filled my cup up so much more than any meditation could do. And I really suggest people try it, or even just imagining and meditating on the green cord that runs within each parts of our hearts, all around humanity, all around the world. And I think that's what we're yearning for. It's that community. It's that connection that we were discussing. It's what we're craving. So I think that's super powerful.
Would you call love a power, a force? How would you describe love?
Everything. You know what I see it as is like a rose. And they say that when we leave this, like our soul leaves our body, it's the same frequency that the soul, the rose vibrates at. And I see the rose as that, like the rose has thorns. It's very prickly. It's strong, but it's also so delicate, and a petal can just like fall off at any instant. And there's so many varieties and colors. It's such a vast form. And I see that with like relationships as well. It's like each relationship you have is like a different form of love metamorphosing itself into a different form. Love it takes every form because it is everything.
Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful. The rose came up in an event we did recently. It was saying the thorns were like similar to relationships or struggles that we have,
Yeah.
but bringing us back to that beautiful rose, you know.
Mm.
So to be like God, that's a kind of a tricky one, you know, because people have a lot of problems with that, you know. So to accept yourself as a divine being, you know, in that sense. I mean, hands up who thinks they're God. You definitely are. You definitely. I'm so glad you're in the front. But hands up who thinks they're God. We only got 2 people, wasn't it? Okay, we got about 5 people. Isn't that amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything. I'm sitting up here. So, are we God?
Yeah, you could. Okay, so this is a dangerous belief in one regard, and my guides very much said this to me. They were showing me like a person in their mind could be like, I'm God, and then they get high on that power, which I understand. But I think they showed me the greatest downfall was real, like being taught that we were separate from it. So even the understanding of like spiritual practices, it's like we think we have to go somewhere to find that or to connect to that. It's more about the understanding that it resides in every cell of our being now, that it's not outside of us, that we are the source, and that every single one of us is. I always see it as kind of, I was shown this diagram a couple nights ago, and it's like a star, and it's like every single thing that's holding this whole universe together is God, meaning it's in the air, it's literally in every form and everything, and it's also within every cell of our being. So it's more of an understanding that we are not disconnected from that source, because that again has been how we have power over people, and how we create control, and how so much like organized things have created structures for people to then feel powerless. But understanding that we all have that source within ourselves now. So that's what they say when they say be like God. It's just an understanding of your God source self. And you could also have fun with it. Like I call it also like your God source self, which is like your higher self, and just doing actions from a state of just feeling like, yeah, I am God. You know what I mean? Like letting yourself feel that power. But at the end of the day, it's really just, yeah, what they show me is that it's a divinity flowing within each one of us. It's not disconnected ever.
What country was that you explored that one in?
Oh, I don't know why I was about to say Peru. I've never lived in Peru.
Okay.
I think that was Bali as well.
That was Bali.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And when we talk about the next one about like life guiding you, that's a nice one, you know, because it really kind of lets you off the hook a little bit, because a lot of us come out of the traps, you know, from college or school, and we're kind of going for this plan, you know. I mean, I remember I wanted to be an actor, you know, and I enjoyed it, but I ended up in a play, King Lear, and it was like I was in it for 3 months, and I just couldn't do Shakespeare, and I was like, I thought I wanted this. So, you know, you kind of mold yourself into this thing you think you want.
Yeah.
And then I end up, you know, having a spiritual magazine, and it just when as soon as that happened, and I said, okay, I give in here, it took me on this trip, you know.
Yeah.
So letting life lead you is a really powerful way to live.
Yeah.
Tell us about that one.
I believe our soul has a plan for us, like 100%. Like I see it as they're showing me right now, like you kind of have to move to the left of the driver's seat and let your soul or the universe or God or whatever be in that, and they're steering the wheel. And you will be guided through signs and symbols. That's what they kept saying to me, signs and symbols, letting life guide you, and you'll know that orchestration. It's not that it's going to be all easy and dandy. Like I think a lot of our hardest challenges and things that we need to have grit on is a great teacher in itself. But it was really just showing me that when we fully let life continue to move and letting it flow through us, because I always see the soul like breath. Like I see it just like breathing. I see it as like there's no right or wrong that we can do. And I think that's where we try and get and take control, because we think that there's a wrong path or that there's a right path. Whereas I feel like the soul sees everything as a teacher and a lesson, and that it's just wanting to hop into a roller coaster of life and be like, let me take me down on this roller coaster. Let me go all over here. It's neutral. And it's just neutral about everything, because it's just here to experience. And I'm sure if you guys, like, you know, when you meditate and you connect your soul, and it almost, to me, it always sounds like a breathing, like just something's observing everything. It's the observer. So it's just that understanding of that you can't mess up, and just let life move through you. And one thing my guides always say is like, a lot of people get really stuck in the consciousness of feeling like they wasted time. That's like a big one they keep showing me with a lot of people, like, oh, I've wasted so much time, especially whenever you went through an awakening or you're like regretting your past or anything. but all we have is the present moment. So if you can just let life flow through you, trust yourself, and let those signs and those symbols start to orchestrate, because I believe we're in such a simulation. So it's all orchestrated and panned out.
It's quite a simulation, yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole time thing is interesting. Yeah, when you do let go of that and go into the present moment, you kind of nearly can change your relationship with time, you know. I wanted to ask you about when you do a reading for somebody. How does that work? What happens?
Yeah, so my psychic abilities are like a TV projector. So it projects, you know, when you see a projector and it like goes out into the wall, it projects it out through my third eye. So like I can physically see it with my third eye, but not my physical eyes. So when I go on a call with somebody and I ask them to connect in, I always ask for permission. Immediately, I can hear their guides as clear as I hear humans, and that's been a struggle in itself. But I hear them just as clearly as humans. They just take the role and start speaking through me and telling me what I need to know, and I see it through my third eye of colors and their soul and all of that sort of stuff.
And like, what's it like, you know, when you see people and you're just completely blowing them away with this information? What's that like?
When I'm sharing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, I mean, you're affecting people's lives, and you're really kind of, how does that feel, you know?
Yeah. I don't share with anyone. That's why I have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's like how I get up my pent out energy, and I go home and I make videos, but I don't usually speak this way to people unless they ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you're doing an actual reading.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like the people I attract into my life are so used to that
Okay.
they're just like, oh, tell me more. Like, it's not like they're not believing in it. Like, they're already deep in it. You know?
Oh, no, I know. But they're like, you know, when you're telling them such, like, you actually hear their guides telling you information about them and what's going to happen in their lives and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, they could be freaked out.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's they're at the same time, they're like, tell me more. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And is there any particular reading that sticks in your mind that kind of, I mean, you've done loads of them, right?
Yeah.
Is there some that stick in your mind?
My first one.
Okay, really?
Yeah. This was when my psychic abilities were really coming online, and my guides, I was living in the Canary Islands at the time, and my guides were saying, go along the beach and offer people psychic readings, which obviously I was terrified about. That's scary. And also, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I can see your energy. It's weird. So, but I had to listen, because they never showed me the next step until I would obey or honor what they were telling me. So I went up to this guy. I was like, can I give you a reading? He was like, he didn't even really speak English. Well, it wasn't his first language anyway, but immediately I knew that he had lost his job, that he had just gone through a breakup, that his heart was very closed. I could see all the parts of his body that were clogged, and I was just sharing this with him, and he was like, are you about to go back up into the sky? Like, he didn't believe that, you know what I mean? He was just like, are you going to leave the minute I turn around? He was just freaked out by it. But in that moment, I knew, I was like, okay, this is really not about me at all anymore. Like, this is something higher that's filtering and funneling through me. So I started offering readings at that time, and it's been past 4 years now.
And with the angelic realm, what's it like working with the angelic realm in your own life? You know, do you feel really guided, really protected, really?
Yeah. They're like a warm hug. I remember one time I asked for guidance. I was living somewhere and I was just like, I don't know what the next step is. And so I heard my angels be like, okay, walk down the street and you're going to go left and you're going to go right and you're going to go all these way. And I ended up at this random charity store, like this bookstore, and they said, go to the back, go down. And it was this white aura, like they emanate books. I'm very guided by books, but they emanated it, and I pulled it out, and then I turned it around and it said, Aidan grew up in Dublin, and my dad's called Aidan, and I'm obviously Irish. So this book said Aidan grew up in Dublin, saw angels his whole life. And so I went home, read that book within a day, and I knew my next step was just to come home to Ireland. And I actually then ended up training with that guy and working with him, and then facilitating angelic healing through his teachings. But I was living in an island off the coast of Africa, and my angels were guiding me through those symbols and through those messages, which is kind of like where we say, let life guide us. It was completely a coincidence of synchronicity that guided me home. And so the angelic realm is super soothing. And I say that again for people who do feel like sensitive within their hearts, or vulnerable or depressed or sad or lonely. That angelic frequency is like medicine. Like, it's truly like medicine. And it's purity as well. And I think that's something that a lot of us, we lose over time with media and with conditioning, is to separate us from that divinity, that purity. And angels really bring you back into that innocence, that we're all just like these innocent babies who are born into this world. You know, when you look at a baby, they're just so pure, they're so innocent. And so angels are a great mirror for that. And that's what they've really healed me with in my own life. Yeah.
Anybody else here connect with the angelic realm? Or Victoria again? Yourself as well, yeah?
Oh, well, I can't wait to ask questions.
Yeah, there'll be questions coming. Be questions coming. So I wanted to move on to one of these other ones here. So everything is a choice.
Yeah, I love this
That's
one.
a good one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's familiar with victim consciousness. I fell in love with that feeling. I loved it, feeling like a victim, feeling like, why is this happening to me? And it's super comfy. Like it's super comfy. You can, watch Netflix and get into bed and just feel like wallow in it. And I was addicted to it for a while. And I've met many people who were. And one day my guides, they were like, get up. And they were like, everything is a choice. And I was like, what do you mean? They were like, you can choose the way you see and perceive anything. And every single thing in this world is a choice. And what they meant by that is you can choose to, okay, like this is just like such a basic example, but you could choose to go to the gym and eat a healthy meal one night, or you could choose to like order takeaway and feel like not great within yourself. And what they were really showing me when they stepped back is that the choice is easy. You're actually choosing both. So we have this idea that, oh, well, going to the gym and doing this is the harder choice. What they're showing me is actually takes just as much energy to do one choice as the other, so that everything is actually neutral, meaning the hardest path or the path of your dreams is actually just as easy as choosing the other path. And so that's what they said when they were like, everything is a choice. And they also said that for your perspective. And so they made me get a notebook and rewrite my entire past. So all these stories and how I perceived things. And for example, I grew up in hospital in my childhood because I was born and I couldn't walk. So I was in a wheelchair for a really long time. And for so long, I would wear that like a badge of honor of pain of like, well, I went through this, and then I would use it as an excuse. And they showed me, they're like, you're ready to rewrite it and actually inhibit it in your body now that that never happened. And that is a choice. So it's like a choice of rewriting our past, of our hardest moments, how we can change that perspective and perceive it so that it can be healing and beneficial for us in that no moment. Because every hardship that we've experienced is a lesson. But once you integrate that lesson, you don't need to think about that whole story, because it's all just present moment. It's present energy. Anything that's the past or future is like that projector. It's just bringing that frequency back into the moment. So every single thing is a choice, meaning the actions we take, but also the perspective we choose.
She's good, isn't she? That was good. That's good. When you said there was two things there, there's the thing where you don't go to the gym and you sit on the couch and you eat Jaffa cakes or whatever it is that,
Jaffa cakes.
whatever it is that, you'd be a Jaffa cake fan, actually. I don't know where that came from. But we all know that where you make the choice that really, it's not the highest choice, But then what I feel is once you make that choice, the thought that I shouldn't have made that choice is no use.
Yeah.
You just got to go with whatever you go with, right? You just got to go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, how I want to talk to you a little bit about thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
How do you work with thoughts, the
Mm-hmm.
frequency of thoughts, this, when people ruminate or they get stressed and all that kind of stuff. And also we have the awareness behind that,
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah.
Do you find you live from there more now yourself?
No, but
No.
I think it's the access point, and it's something I do think that is the easiest way we can be infiltrated through thought form, because it's of the spirit realm, it's of mental. There's no feeling connected to it. And what I mean by that is, if you get any intrusive thought, whatever that is, I think a lot of us believe that that is us. Whereas now I've separated myself from my thought realm of any form of thinking, that if I feel something come in, I don't have to believe that's truth, or I can see it like as an attack or whatever I want. And what I mean by that is, if you have a thought that's like trying to siphon you or put you down or make you feel not worthy of love in any form, immediately I just contradict and I'm like, that's not true. I do not claim this. I reject that. So it's like like obviously we can't be conscious of all our thoughts all the time, but from the first law of remembering we are love, it was a very big permission slip to let myself, and for everyone, to let yourself not believe those thoughts anymore, or not let them have power or control over you. So as long as you embody that understanding that we are just love, any thought that is quote unquote critical or negative, I don't like to use the word positive or negative, but any positive life. But if I love that word. Any word, any thought.
I don't think negative life would have worked as well.
Yeah, I just don't claim it anymore. So when I operate in the thought realm, like it's just kind of like bubbles. Like when you have fresh air and then there's these bubbles blowing around, you can just like move. That's what they're showing me right now. You can just like move them around. I don't take them that seriously. Whereas I used to when I was a teenager, like believe everything. And then I would go down these paths. And I also think that can throw us into a lot of like spirals, like feeling spirals. Cause I know a lot of people who go through awakenings, you're really good at feeling. I know I'm really good at feeling, but it also, you have control over that. You don't need to always go because we create it from the thought realm. That's where it starts. It goes from a thought to an emotion to an action. So the first step is really questioning, like, okay, what are the thoughts that I'm having that are creating that emotion? Instead of feeling like, okay, maybe I need to feel this, you could just go to the correction and be like, is that a true thought to me? So that's kind of how I do it. I love journaling. That's what really helps me.
You do writing and stuff.
A
yeah,
lot of
okay.
writing. Yeah, a lot.
And I think as well, when you don't get into those kind of, lower frequency thoughts, I think you open up a more creative, higher source, that kind of way that something more beneficial to you can come in, just
Yeah.
naturally, you don't have to do any resistance or anything.
I find when you continue to operate from your heart space and whatever that is, if it's finding hobbies, if it's drinking cacao, like there's a million different techniques I could explain or do, if it's massaging your heart, I see it again of like this pink aura infatuates your whole being and starts affecting your thoughts. You know what I mean? So it's like the more you just focus on that, you start having more loving thoughts towards yourself. It's like when we can plant like anything in the soil and then we water and nurture that with our heart, and that either grows into poison ivy, which is also beautiful, but like weeds, or a rose. So it's really just about us choosing the seeds we want to plant.
Yeah. So life is for love. We kind of covered love in the first one, but it's popping up here again. Yeah. So tell us about that one.
They express that again just to push it even forth again, of just that this whole purpose is love. I think we overcomplicate the purpose of this life and think it's a million different things. And okay, why am I here? What do I have to do? Am I doing enough? And then we get into that like creation, and they really just show me like everything is just a web of love. Like that is the purpose of love. And when we can understand that this is for love, and love doesn't look like being this like kind, loving, being, I also think it's love is also infiltrated. It's in anger, it's in pain, it's in sadness. And I'm sure people here have experienced a lot of darkness in their life, a lot of pain, and it being their greatest teachers because it reflects them to love. So everything is always a kind of an arrow guiding us and directing us to that love. So I really believe that. And I just think that we're here to experience, and that is such a loving grace that we get to experience this life and everything that comes with it, the good and the bad.
There's a lot of people, I've had lots of guests in here channeling different things and talking to different guides and really all saying the same thing. So lucky enough, we're on the same page, but when you think of like ascended masters, like we say Jesus, or for example, because he's always a classic, he pops up a lot, are they all do you feel they're all in different kind of frequencies? Or they all hang out together? What's your vibe like with the angelic realm?
Yeah.
What's the story there,
When I go into my brain of analytical, you could be like, it's the seventh dimension, the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, and it's all mental. But are you feeling anything when you learn and study about these people? Are you feeling anything? Or do you have this hierarchy that they're better than you, that they have rules over you, that they're controlling you, they're judging you? So when I tuned into that for ages, because I would connect to them, and then I felt this strictness, like people were watching me and that I had to act a certain way or be a certain way or be perfect. But if you tune into your heart, I see it as it's all just the same frequency of love. But it's like humans, like we're all so unique and we're so different, yet we're all from the same source. So I kind of see it like that. It's like it's all just one. So we can analyze it and understand that. But at the end of the day, I ask the question, like, can you feel them? And that's all that matters, because I really believe like Jesus and all these teachers, they came to guide us to remember who we are, not to worship him. Like he came of love. And I always see him when he comes in, it's like he has this pulsing red heart, and it's like to mirror and reflect back the pulsing red heart within yourself. So that's what I see them as, mirrors of that light. So you can choose what way you want to see them or what way you want to perceive them. And they support that lovingly, which is why you're kind of able to free roam whatever way you want to be.
Do you work with him a lot? Do you come across
Jesus? I love Jesus. And I love Mary Magdalene as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you connected with them, and you actually see them in your third eye? Or
I really love them both. I think they're both such a beautiful union of the feminine and the masculine. Yeah.
And the story we've been told about him, have you got any input on that? Crucifixion, the whole thing, is that all real? Is it an allegory? What's the story there?
I believe it was real, but what my guides continue to say again is, again, it's not fighting. And what I mean by that is, for a while I was like, oh, well, Christianity is rewritten a certain way, and it's, you know, this. But my guides are saying, if it's bringing people peace, if it's bringing them closer to their own divinity of their love, why should that be wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I respect so much people who enjoy that. My guides made me get a Bible and read it all back to front so that I could understand it. And it's not how I feel God. It's not how I feel Source. And I think the story is very different from what I've seen, but it's really, again, it doesn't matter. Like, they kind of show me like a fruit bowl. If you think of, okay, let's say I'm facing a fruit bowl and there's like bananas here and there's grapes on your side, and I'm like, that there, I can't see the grapes, but I'm like, there's bananas, and you're like, no, Ella, you're blind, that is grapes. But if we see from a higher perspective, it's both correct. And they say that with stories, is that anything that's not happening in the here and now, meaning like, actually there are parallel realities, multiple ways that that experience and that story could have happened from a perceiver and from their perception, meaning what is truth, what one story is actually correct. And that's why they kind of show me, if it works for one person, let that work for them. But you can rewrite it for yourself if it works for you.
So it's totally all coming back to the present moment, your own present moment.
Mm-hmm.
The stories, yeah, we're kind of shedding them, I feel, you know, we don't
Mhm.
need to know them anymore. Yeah. It's funny because as an interviewer, I'll be running out of questions in a few years, you know what I mean? I'll be like, okay, no more questions. I'm just in the present moment, lads. You know, someone actually said to me, this guy, he was kind of like I suppose he had an enlightening experience, and he said, oh, you know, Paul, we were walking in Glendalough, he says, you know, they want to keep you so that you don't get enlightened. And I was like, what? He said, well, we want to keep asking questions, and they kind of like you in that role. So they'll all get enlightened, and I'll just keep asking questions. It's great.
I can actually confirm to that.
Okay, brilliant.
No, not with you. Sorry. With
I know I was getting a reading there, you know.
yeah, no, when I connect to
Right.
some people, they're yearning to hear their guides, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who can't hear anything. They're like, Ella, I've tried everything. It's silence. You could hear a pin drop. And I'll be like, connect to their guides, like, yeah, they're not meant to hear us. And I'm like, I'm sorry to be the deliverer of that news, but like, for example, that person's here to be the guide for themselves, and that's actually the hardest thing. Like, I almost feel like it's a free pass when you can hear your guides and you get that guidance. But for someone who has nothing, they're truly integrating and learning sovereignty to like fully trust their being. And that for me is like warrior, because they always show me like a pyramid and you can flip it upside down. I think a lot of us, we give power to the higher realms of angels, of guides. We think that they are better than us. They see it the other way around. They see Earth as like the most challenging realm that we can exist on. They see us as the masters down here, because they're just floating up in the love, you know what I mean? And we're not. So
That's kind of hilarious. You know, it's hilarious to think about, isn't it? That in the angelic realm, someone's in an interview right now and they're saying, can you channel humans? I'll channel this guy from Finglas. It's amazing. Maybe you think about it.
I love it. I love it.
You
should be a comedian.
So being grateful, you know, like people do gratitude journals, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what you do in your own life as well, or how do you bring gratitude into your life?
Yeah, I think it's for the simplest of things. I have two dear best friends. One is in Lebanon right now, and her whole country is being destructed. And then I have another best friend who's from Florida, and her hometown is completely deteriorated. And that has been weaving in more than anything right now, of just the appreciation for like a bed, like water, like the simplest of things. And I think when we can be grateful for like, they always show me the example of someone working in McDonald's. I don't know why. Like, if they absolutely hate their job, they're like, easy for this person to say. They show me like being grateful. Have you guys seen the movie Soul? Yeah. Oh my God, I love that movie. If you haven't, you have to see it.
Yeah.
They see when we can integrate just the weavingness of being grateful to be alive, and that this is a literal treasure chest and a literal gift. And it's like a tapestry we weave in over time that we then like can integrate. So you can choose to be grateful every day, but it can be hard when you're not grateful. Like, it's a real thing, you know, when you're just like, you're angry, which is okay. But it's more of like a way of being that's integrated over time to be programmed to just appreciate the simplest of things, like water. and things that we take for granted so much of the time, because, you know, especially with the online realm, it's getting bigger, our thirst and appetite for more. It's never enough. It's never satiating that. When we go back to the roots of understanding that, like, the us being here is like, although it's so challenging and although it can feel so difficult in so many ways, it is such a gift. And it's so imperative that we enjoy it and enjoy every second, even the pain. And I've fallen in love with pain. I think pain is so beautiful, and the darkness and those things, because it's all part of this experience. You know, like eating food, all those things that we're not going to be able to do when we do depart, you know, and it's only for a short time. You know, when I think of like death, or I see like my grandparents recently passed, and it's like, you know, when we're babies, we have to be looked after. And then when we go back to old, we have to be looked after again. They kind of go back to being a baby, and seeing people come in and out, it really just, you know, the world keeps spinning. It's a gift. And if we don't step back and really just appreciate the simple mundanity of it all, even, it can pass by so quickly. Yeah.
Oh, great. To know yourself as a creator being. Yeah, talk to us about that one.
Yeah, I think that one is an energy that is being blocked in a lot of people, especially with the requirement to work and to be in these regimented systems and 9-to-5s and like 5 days a week, and social media. Like, all of this is blocking us from that creational energy, that we are creators and we can create through hobbies, and we can create. I encourage everyone to have as much hobbies as you can and make it like an absolute priority. But when we are creators, I see it as like this sacral force, which is the 5D frequency. I see that as coming into a lot of people of joy. Like, something my guides assigned me to do was wake up and watch comedy videos. That was my new meditation. They're like, you're going to watch a comedy movie or like a comedy show every morning and just laugh. That's all you need to do. You don't need to, you know, hum, laugh. And it was, the more I started connecting to that force of like the giddiness of the joy, I realized, oh my God, that aliveness that we as humans have has been completely shut down. And all the systems are creating this lack of aliveness, lack of color. So when I say creator, I really see it as this opening in our stomach of aliveness, of giddiness, of doing what makes you feel playful and joyful. If that's wearing color, they always show me color holds such a high frequency. And the more you can, you know, I know some people don't like it, but if you can bring more color into your home, they would assign me to use different colors at different times in my life, and my like bedding, different colors, to infuse those colors into like different parts of my body. But a creational being is understanding that we are here to create whatever it is we want, or birth whatever we want, because we all come from a womb, which is where the creative portal lies. And if you think of every human, they were created from that force. Everything in this world is created from that force. So it's about us using that life force and awakening that and channeling in that to whatever we desire.
And now, before we'll probably take a break soon. What time is it there? Anybody know? 8:10.
The present.
Oh, it's the present. I'm glad you're doing some jokes too. That's good. So Ella, what's going to happen over the next few years? What do you see on the timeline coming for us, humanity?
A lot of things my guides show me, they said I'm not allowed to say,
Okay.
because it's a reaction of fear of what's knowing. But the end of it is always remembering the divinity, and community is going to play a huge part. Like, I really encourage anyone, if you're living in an estate, make flyers, put it in your neighbors, and just say, let's meet up once a week, because people are yearning for other people. They're yearning for connection. Everyone's on their phones at nighttime in bed and by themselves. And there's a benefit to that, because they're showing me the global awakening. Like, we're able to connect to other people all around the world at any time. It's bizarre, but they just continue to show me that it will be a remembering of the divinity and the crumbling of the ego. Because when our resources, you know, shift of someone having more than another, it's just a human in front of a human, and we remember the soul within each other. And that's what they continue to like push, is the understanding of why things might start to happen, and why the outcome of that is for love.
And when this higher frequency actually kind of becomes solid on the planet, is there a timeline for that? Do you feel it's happening very, very soon?
Yeah, they're showing me a date, but what I would say,
A date, an exact date?
they show me 2032. But what I will say is they keep going back to the waiting. It's like, if we do them, we're like, okay, well then I'm living in that timeline, because anything can shift if we choose to anchor whatever timeline we want to see now. So again, it's kind of coming back to now. They're like, just choose to do that now. Because in the quantum realm, I see it as like the spiritual realm. Like, I know a lot of people say we came from the black void, and I find that feels really cold, and it feels like there's nothing there, and it just feels like isolating. I think of the spirit realm as like this white infinite space, meaning we can draw in anything we desire from that realm to create it. So if we already operate in the quantum, that it already exists here and now, living in that end and operating in that end of what you wish to see. So they always show me operating in that quantum, drawing in those laws, drawing in that way of being now, so that you're choosing to anchor that timeline into the planet now, because we all have choice.
That's a good one, you know, because yeah, I don't get that anymore. Like, where I'd be like, oh, 2032, what age am I going to be then? You know, I just kind of go, no, I'm going to bring in that energy now to 2024. It's my own present being right now. So I'm going to experience it now. And it's up to us, people like us, to anchor it in now, you know, because we're all kind of a bit nuts, you know, the normal people are, you know, doing their own thing. So we're going to have a tea break now. There's lovely snacks out there, super nature. They're like chocolate, and they're like no sugar and all, real healthy, you know. So you can eat what you want at home, but in here it's very healthy. So we'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll see, and then we do a Q&A with Ella, and we'll see what else rolls. Give her a big round of applause. Brilliant. Yeah. Oh. We'll just leave it on, and then we can tip it back on.
Sorry, I'm going to go to Madrid in a couple of weeks, so hopefully I'm not doing a video. So I just
Go in 2 weeks.
are you serious? No way.
Yeah. When are you going to Madrid?
Yeah.
28th of October.
Yeah.
I'm going on the 30th.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's brilliant. So how can I connect with you?
Sounds like maybe all right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm missing yes. Yeah, I see you on Facebook before, but
Wow, okay, just send me what's your name?
yes.
I know that you from Madrid.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, well, if you text me again, or then
Okay,
I.
so I will send you a message on Instagram.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm literally going to Madrid.
yeah, because I want to see if he wants to come to this one.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, here.
I don't know what I was saying. That's so
I've had one where I was in the bathroom and they could hear me on the thing. And hear everything. Are you back? Hello, 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 hello. Are you back, folks? Are you back? Are you back? Do you? You don't like it? Did you see they love that? Yeah. Okay, folks, you're back. You're back. Did you like that tea break? I think we frightened the life out of the bar staff there, but we'll get better. We'll get better. It's our first one. It's a very high vibrational concept, tea break. So you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. So Ella, you good? Sound voice? All good?
Hello.
Hello.
Hola.
So who has questions? Let me see a show of hands who has questions. Oh, we have a few, we have a few, we have a few. Okay, cool. So let's go with this lady on the left. Let's go. Yeah.
Hi. Big fan. You're very excited when I heard your Irish accent. So I just have a question. There's obviously so much information coming at us, and great enough, you know,
Yeah.
time to be alive. But I one of the things I was just listening to Tanya recently, and on one hand she was speaking about this fear of God, and she about this soul trap. karmic soul trap about coming back into the earth, and always been tricked into it. But in the same breath later on, he spoke about how there's billions of souls waiting to come down to the earth, because it's such a divine privilege to be down here. And I don't want to believe that there is a trick or a trap happening when we pass away. And that, what's your own sense?
I love that question, because I was entangled in that too, of a lot of fear. Yeah, I feel like our body's reaction to something of it being fear, meaning like I used to watch channelers so long until my guides told me, probably not the best advice, but like to stop consuming everything and only listen to the voice that I was hearing or what my spirit was saying. And I think if your body is reacting in a fear-based way of feeling like this enclosure, this contraction, you don't need to believe that story is true. You know what I mean? I really feel, because I used to believe that too, like a lot of souls get stuck in the middle. When I studied shamanism for a year, they would always say this, and that can be something that I thought about for ages with fear. But what I've come to understand is if it feels enclosing in your heart, if it feels a contraction in your heart, listen to that. Because I think the one thing with the spiritual community is it's so much air, and you're channeling from every field of every single corner. And we've lost our animalistic primal sense. That is what is coming back. So it's really listening to that rooted self and how it reacts to that, and what feels comforting and loving to you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that question. I'm gonna go here and I'll come back to you again in a second. This man here, yeah?
Yeah.
We know what you're gonna ask.
It's gone. So I think we're all shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting.
Yeah.
I mean, last night, just talking to last night's full meal, I believe we shifted another massive amount of fear away from that thing. But I want to ask you about angel numbers, because I have my own theory, and I'm constantly moving, and they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last few weeks, I'm talking 5 cards in a row. You know, I'm talking about every time I look at the phone and I wake up, I'm waking up at 13, 33, 4, 4, 4, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And should I try and contact them more now, or what's the story? What's your outcome on this? Because they're just, it's beautiful, and I'm not frustrated, because I sort of know I'm protected, I know I'm guided, I know where we're all going, I know it's beautiful. So, what do I do? Do I actually just try and get more involved, or are you trying to tell me something?
Yeah, that's again a beautiful question, because I went through that as well, of like Googling the meaning of something, and it was like terrifying, and I was like, I don't claim this. My guides told me a long time ago, and I have it on my notes app, assigning the numbers of the meaning that I want to embody. So you can truly like write down the numbers and assign it whatever way you want, so that when you see it, you're vibrationally sending out that call and you're assigning it something that you desire. So there's that. And then secondly, also, I think, I'm sure a lot of people in the room wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Yeah. So I started doing this a while ago. It might sound a little bit crazy, but it's because the veil is so thin, because everyone around you is asleep. If you wake up, even visualize for 5 minutes before falling back to sleep of what you want your day to pan out by. It's the closest that you're connected to the quantum, the spirit. The veil is just instantaneously within us. So what I started doing was just visualizing what I wanted to pan out for the day, and it was mystical. So a lot of the times our spirit's waking us up to be like, this is a potent time, and that can be a message. But with regards to angel numbers, I think you can assign your own meaning. And the reason I say that is I've seen a lot of people get like also lost in signs. And I know you can turn anything into a sign, which can drive you to insanity sometimes, because anything can guide you in whatever way you want. So I really recommend, and I've done so many psychic readings that have said this to their guides or to the person in front of me, assign the number of the way that you want. And that can change every week, depending on what you're wanting to create in your life right now. You know what I mean? If it's something to do with your health or money, you can change it and write it in that. And then the next week it could be something else. You know, for example, I see 67 everywhere. It's like my lucky number, literally everywhere. And I had to ask my guides a million times. I was like, why do you keep showing me this? And they were like, it's just like a showing that you're a conscious creator. You get to assign it. There wasn't like we had to get this message, because if they had to get a message across, they would get it across. You know what I mean? Not in like a number. So yeah, I would recommend assigning it whatever way you want, and whatever feels holy and feels loving towards yourself.
Yeah. What numbers are you seeing again?
The lotto?
Yeah, I wish to say a lot, but like, recently it's gone a bit higher because it's gone into just constantly double numbers now. And it used to be like 10, 10, 11, 11, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3,
Yeah.
5, 5, 5. But now it's like 89, 89. I mean, my car just the other day just went, the odometer just went 282, 282. And then it 5, 5, 4, 5s and all 6s and all. And this, where the hell, man?
Yeah.
Bring me up, you know.
Nice, man. Beam me up, Scotty. Will you pass the microphone to that lady beside you? Thanks for that great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
So grateful for everyone and everyone who's organizing talk and grateful for you and your existence and everyone. And first of all, I just want to say, I feel like Paul is holding her back and you're holding yourself back, and especially I'm here definitely to actually, it's been happening, spinning so crazy in a way. Please don't hold back and just tell us what you feel like and what's happening, because I don't really know what's happening. Things been, going so fast, and I suppose maybe I'm here to really hear the answer, to put into words of what is actually happening and what is actually coming. And most of you seems like you know what's happening, but I'm just only having the gist of it, and I think I'm here perhaps maybe another time, but just to hear it actually in words what's happening. So try not to hold yourself back, whatever,
So let it rip, Ella.
But my question is like, okay, what the hell shall we do to our kids? Shall we take them out of school? Or how can we, me as a parent, serve my children, what you see? That would be our
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
question.
Thank you. I've actually thought about this so much for someone who doesn't have kids. My mom laughed because I was like, I'm going to feed them organic and I'm not going to I'm going to homeschool them. And she was like, easy for you to say when you don't have the child.
Trying to go through a spiritual journey again, have a mission,
Yeah. Yeah. To kind of go to what you first said, I think the awareness recently is that it's so simple. Like this whole purpose of this life, it's really simple. It's love. And there's no complication. I used to be very into channelers and all these different things and so much information. And I felt like I was spinning, and it's really simple. And I think it's the frequency that children embody, which is joy and which is love. So I think a lot of these children that are coming in are greater teachers for ourselves. And all you need to be is a mirror of unconditional love. And that's why they've chosen you. And I think that will guide in many different ways. For some people, it will be in school, they need community, they need connection, so there's a double-edged sword to everything. But I think with your maternal heart and listening to the love of your child, that they chose you and they chose to come in here. Because I used to think like, what's happening to the children, everything that's happening. And then I realized they actually chose to come here. They wanted to. So it's not that they're doomed or that this is going to happen, but as long as you encourage them, just with the simplicity of love and letting them feel safe to express. Because I find as children, like if, they're mad or anything, they scream at the top of their lungs or they cry, and then that belittles and goes down when the systems kind of tell you to sit down and do this and be this way. So I think it's just really creating a safe, loving environment for yourself, for them to express. And that also starts with like yourself and letting yourself express and letting yourself feel safe to be loved. And then that naturally is just a mirror. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Who has a question down here? Do you mind coming up just so you can grab the mic? Is that okay? So we can hear you? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. Quick song as well, just while you have the mic.
So we were talking about Ireland, and one of the questions I have is, why am I still in Ireland, or not? Well, obviously, just to give it more generic, is I'm starting to see a lot of synchronicities, as we were talking about the media and so on, but could you tell us more about what do you feel about Ireland in terms of why so many people are coming now into Ireland, and is the whole just tradition thing, we're talking about Burin Taran, so why are so many people, or I'm finding a lot of people being attracted to Dublin, and then we try to live.
Yeah.
And we can live. So I have been here over 20 years, people is like, everybody is like, why are you here? Kind of way.
Yeah.
So Sian is about the spiritual aspect of Ireland, and even stargates and portals and everything, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all that, but what's your opinion about it?
Yeah, I was actually having this discussion with my friend like right before coming out here, and it was about Ireland, because the frequencies of every country is so different. Ireland is very raw, it's very real, it's very in the dirt and the soil, which can feel denser, it can feel darker, it can feel colder. I've been in many countries that are very airy-fairy and it's very high vibrational, and although that can feel beautiful and feel great, the beauty of Ireland and the real gift of Ireland is it's going to strip you right back to your roots and your purity of like your soul, like it's from the heart. And I think that's an awakening in the spiritual community I feel is happening right now, is that we're actually here to be primal and instinctual in our bodies and not up and out. And so Ireland offers that. It's a very specific frequency. There's a lot of like density. If you can feel emotion and you can feel energy with what's happened in the past of Ireland and the land of Ireland, but the actual land like wants to hold you. Because I have the same, I move and then it keeps pulling me back every single time. And I'm like, why am I don't want to be here. And then it's like, you have to stay. And that's what I keep seeing. It's the land. It's here to hold us and root us into our body and ground us. So instead of like denying like, oh, I hate Ireland, I want to leave, like truly see the medicine that it's trying to offer, because it may not be materialized the way like the online world or spirituality wants it to be perceived, because it's a completely different experience. And I think it's about rooting. I think it's about connecting to the land and letting that whisper back. And I think it's also people wanting to connect back to their roots, because the systems that are being created right now, like the food industry, for example, and all the pesticides, you're like, well, that was not a thing with our ancestors. And I keep getting this download that it's like, we're actually going back to our roots. It's not that we're going to be living in this electronic, like, you know, new like multiverse. We're actually going back to our roots of the land and the simplicity and the slowness. What is that saying? Like chop wood, carry wood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what they keep saying to me. And Ireland is like a prime example of that. And I continue to see that when I was abroad in other countries, that it was like this siren, like a calling, and all these Irish people were coming together in communities. And I can see that now playing out. There's so much community starting to arise in Ireland, because we're understanding the power of connection and like impact with ourselves, instead of being in this solo, hyper independent world that relies on systems for us to be individual. It's going to be slowly coming back to our roots with what's going to be happening in the next 10, 20 years.
Is this your first time here at an event here tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're in the community, you've joined it.
Yeah. I'm excited.
There's no getting out now, man. So 3 packets of custard creams if you can.
No. Organic apples.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, organic. You're right. So, this lady, will you come up to the top for us? Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
So I watched your last video and I felt I resonated with it. One of the things that you said is that you're at a point where you don't want to connect with guides as much and you want to connect straight to source. I find at this point in time the concept of guides very overwhelming, to the point that I'm shaking. I don't want to hear them. Thank you. I don't want to hear them. At some point, I thought I wanted a magical life. I don't want it anymore. I want to be super grounded. How can I shut them off?
It's not a question we get asked a lot. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
I love that. While you were speaking, I was getting this vision from you of our guides are like holographic, like a projector of the one that is all. So it's like a fragment of God or a fragment of source. And people are craving that simplicity. I get it, because I stopped connecting to mine about a month and a half ago. They don't, you know, they come in, but then I say no. And they say, our whole purpose was to support you in your decisions and your sovereignty. So if your sovereignty has come to a place where you're like, I don't want to connect to them, that's you fully reclaiming your sovereignty, and kind of goes back to when I would connect to people's guides and they would say they couldn't hear anything. It's because they want to choose sovereignty in this lifetime. And so again, I do feel this as well. It's like this closing of all these portals and these realms and these dimensions that I was in. I feel this sobering up of coming back to the roots and to the land and to the earth and to the feeling in the body, which is what we're all yearning. We're not like, we come into a womb for 9 months. Like we go through such a process to be birthed into physical, not to transcend it, but to be deep in it. So I think that awareness in itself is just claiming that and honoring that, like with the staff and the earth, and saying, this is what I desire, and choosing to walk that path.
Do you think they respect that?
Oh my God, yeah. My guides are so respectful of it. Are they your guides, or are they,
That's what I'm trying to
do they
figure
feel
out.
loving?
No, they feel very pushy, I would
Okay.
say, very uncomfortable at this point. At some other points before, I thought they were very loving, maybe, you know, guiding.
Mhm.
Now I don't know where exactly they're guiding. They're
Yeah.
guiding somewhere, but
Okay.
I'm not quite sure about their intentions.
I think the filtering process I had was, instead of hearing the voice, but feeling it through my heart. And that actually sometimes there is, because that is a reality of the spirit realm. There is so much that wants to sway us. That's what we're seeing in manifestation in the world right now. And that is just a reality. So swaying into your heart, dropping into your heart, doing things that ground you. I know for me, cacao, like drinking cacao every day, ceremonial cacao, was one of the most healing things to bring me back into my body. Doing things like working out, sweating, gym, eating good food, things that can bring you back in. It actually dilutes and closes down the noise, because that's what started to happen to me. I asked this question a year ago because I felt I was so connected to the point it was overwhelming. And I was guided to these people who were so grounded, and I was surrounded, like people I was living with, and they showed me a lifestyle that lived and breathed that way, and actually gave me permission to. Yeah, because I think it's permission as well. Yeah.
Good question. Thank you. So who we got next? If you can come up to the center there for us, yeah. Come on up there. Good. Huh? No, just for this lady here, yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, and thanks so much for shining your light. But it's not really a question, but it is kind of too, but I'm really blessed to be on earth with my soul family. My partner is my twin flame, who like triggers me 90, but we don't feel conditioning, and I find it really hard to accept. And I also have my 4-year-old daughter who's remembering past lives where she's been hurt. But my biggest challenge is my 8-year-old son. He's like a mirror of me, always in trouble. And I just want to know how to deal with the triggers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Like really big triggers.
yeah. Can you give me an example? Like, or is it just an emotion that overwhelms?
No, we just total opposite. Like he just triggers me. Like I realize that I'm constantly reacting instead of responding, but I'm reacting before I get the chance to respond.
Ask yourself for grace. Yeah, let yourself receive grace for yourself first, and in your heart. I'm seeing these green lights like filtering into your heart, like letting yourself receive love from the earth and giving yourself grace, and not continuing the cycle by beating yourself up, because it's nothing to do with him. It's you receiving the love and the grace within yourself. Yeah.
Well done on asking your question. Okay, this man here, can you come up to us as well? Yeah. If people are shy, you can just shout the question as well. I know I'm putting you on the spot there in the hot seat. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? We've heard a lot of talk about upward influence on the planet,
Mhm.
and that's got negative connotations, obviously. So I'd love to hear your take on positive ETs and how they're influencing the planet, because seems to be a lot happening in that front.
Yeah. I was diving into this a lot a couple of months ago, and I kept hearing the word cosmic joke. Cosmic joke kept coming through, and that's when my laughter erupted. And I find that, just going back to what you're saying of aware of like these negative influences or these darker energies that are trying to infiltrate, before we get into that, they kept showing me that if we can just see them as having no power at all, like my friend calls them Lizzies, like any energy, just like patronizing them a little bit and being like, oh, because they don't like that at all. But if you can give just this weakness of power to them, you actually delete the eruption of how powerful you think they are. But in regards to the ETs, it's actually something I don't connect to at all. And I have not much awareness of that. But I mean, I accept anything that's loving and sending infiltration of that, but it's never been something my guides have guided me to, interestingly enough. Yeah. Is there a specific question around them? I'm curious.
No, just there's another guy I follow called Michael Sallard. I don't know if other people follow Michael Sallard here, and you know, he has been speaking a lot about, you know, people who have gone out and left the planet, have been away for years and they've returned and they've come back with a lot of positive ETs who are now influencing the planet and from afar. So that's just that's his take, and that's what certain people who he speaks to are saying.
Yeah, interesting enough you say this. I feel like I hear this thing saying ETs are among us. You know, like our souls are all formed into so many different incarnations and so many different things. I know I call all my friends aliens, and this girl here, I look at my friends and I literally see them as aliens. So I think we are actually seeing a manifestation of physical humans with the weirdest looking spirits underneath in the best way possible. You know what I mean? That I believe they're among us. I've actually never connected to them outwardly though. But one thing I do feel is a lot of these beings are coming, like a lot of people here are from the future and remembering a time on planet where they were from the past in the matriarchy, or like when the world was at peace, or also coming from the future of the remembrance of what's going to happen, and they're here to anchor that frequency in. So I feel like that kind of is what's reflected with ETs, but I'm actually not aware about them that much, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
There's a few of them in the audience. Suddenly.
You're an alien.
Oh, I'm an alien. Definitely an alien. Next question. Anybody got one there? This lady, yeah, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard you say today about the concept of the soul having a plan or a vision for your life. And I'm just curious if our own freedom of choice, if our own free will can interfere with the higher plan for our life, destiny.
Yeah, that's an incredible question, because I think a lot of people again can get into that right or wrong, black or white, like I've messed up something my soul planned. Whenever I connect to people, there's always 3 words that people come to incarnate in, and it's different for each person. So for one person, I've always get like forgiveness, love, and sovereignty, or someone could be gratitude. Forgiveness is a huge one that comes across. So when I think of like an incarnate, like what we come here, I think it's a lot simpler than we think. And I think America and like we're here for this huge, like big, I think it's all kind of like amped up for something. I truly believe the purpose is very simple. There is no right or wrong you can go, because actually that frequency of thinking there's a right or wrong is not the frequency we're meant to operate in when we're getting in this game, in this world. So I think that really just looking and reflecting on the lessons that you've learned this far and that integrated, I think that is the purpose. And whenever I tune in, like I know for myself, one of mine is forgiveness. And I feel like that is continuously reflected. But I think that our timelines are changing all the time. And I don't think there's one, I called it like old spirituality versus new spirituality, when you're like, you come in and this is the one map and you marry this one person. And I was like, no, like we're changing and evolving so rapidly and so much. And we're allowed, and we should be allowed room to create and dissolve old parts of ourselves and continue to awaken new parts of ourselves. So I think that idea of this linear one path is super wrong. And I think that, again, there's no right or wrong. I think let yourself mess up. You know what I mean? I think that's the purpose, and that's where you will figure it out, you know, of what you need to do and what you don't. I think that's the beauty of it all. We're not meant to be perfect, and that's coming from a perfectionist. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So anybody else got one? Yeah. Laura, come on up. Tonight, Laura. Who are you going to be?
Thanks. Hi, Ella. I actually have 2 questions for you.
Love it.
So the first one, I know that you've lived in many places. I have a very international background myself. Would you recommend Costa Rica as like a spiritual heart? No? Oh my God, like
So weird, right? She doesn't like Costa Rica, you know?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay. But no, you wouldn't recommend it.
I think Europe is way prettier. It's very grounded. It's very rugged. But yeah, no, I didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
My last partner was Costa Rican. That's why I was there.
Okay. Well, that brings me to the second question. So what's your take on soulmates and twin flames? Talking about partners.
It's a good question, Laura. I never thought you were going to ask that.
Yeah. I think they're very real. And I think also, truthfully, the twin flame concept has taken a life force of its own for a lot of destruction and not for good. And that's just coming from me personally. I've witnessed it kill people in my life, specifically one person, because they got so raptured in that belief system that it destructed their life.
Okay.
And that's just me being fully transparent. Do I believe soulmates are real? Absolutely. But I think, again, it's like Hollywood and all these movies make it out to be like, like birds are going to fly and all of this. And I honestly, I remember my guide said this to me about a year ago, and I really felt it. They're like, every single human you come across is your soulmate.
Right.
And in that way, you're not looking for this perfect person. You're really seeing everyone as an invitation to learn more about yourself, even if they trigger the crap out of you or they annoy you. You know what I mean? So not like dandy, but I believe in that. And I believe that those thought forms, because we're taught that through the mental realm, that can take a life force of its own and be an indoctrination of our sovereignty of our heart.
Right.
So as long as it feels soothing within your heart or feels good within your body, I trust that. And I really invite people to listen to that more than what we're taught. As I was raptured in that world for a long time as well. And it can create like this insanity of what's true and what's not, which I understand. So it's just bringing back to the body. But of course, I believe all love is true.
Right. So there's like, we have several soulmates, right? It's not just one.
Absolutely. I literally think my friends, like my bestest friends, are my soulmates too.
Yeah.
Like my mom is my soulmate. Like I literally see everyone as like a soulmate to me, honestly. Yeah. And I have experienced soulmate love as well. And it's literally the most timeless, beautiful thing you can experience.
Yeah.
But I think also a lot of people come in for seasons. And I really think that's important as well. And I think, again, if you are my soulmate, it's like trying to cling on and hold instead of just seeing life as nature. You know, that the leaves fall. I always use the expression. It's like you see someone gluing autumn trees, like autumn leaves back on the tree. They're like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? The leaves are going to grow back. And I see that for relationships. I see that for love. I see that for ourselves. But I think you're your own soulmate, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura. Who else we got? Hans, oh, this lady, yeah. Pass the mic there. Great. Does it stretch? Oh, okay. Don't hurt that man now.
Hi, thank you for tonight. I have 4 children, a 16-year-old special needs, and she has a rare chromosome disorder. But she changed my whole life. Where I thought it was misfortune, and I could tell you, I could hear from one tell you, from kind of rags to riches story. But anyway, she changed my whole life. Lately, we've been thinking about my friend Sarah. If we could send her healing collectively, do you think that there's a possibility that we could help her have a clear mind, to help her become more dependent, that I could help her exercise more and to speak properly, and that we can somehow, through the power of meditation and prayer, that we can kind of try to change the genes and the DNA and the cells? Or am I just to leave her alone? She radiates pure love. She's always happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just hearing what you're speaking is actually just, it's about you perceiving her in immaculate perfection for exactly who she is. Immaculate perfection of love. And I think in that radiation of mirroring, again, it's then her choosing in her soul level of what she wants to embody within ourselves, because we're all on a unique sovereign journey where we can't interfere with other people's, but seeing her in immaculate perfection. Yeah.
You kind of said it there at the end, you know, you came
Yeah.
down to that at the end. Beautiful. So who else has a question? Oh, good man. There.
I definitely resonate with a lot of what you said. The sticking point for me, and it's obviously triggered me, we were saying you embrace everything, and even pain, you love pain, and like, no, yeah, I'm not sold on that.
Did you get triggered by Ella tonight? You triggered him, Ella.
I'm sorry.
No, just you can elaborate on it, because I'm stuck there, and obviously
Yeah.
we all suffered, we all have our own stories, but also particularly when I see a lot of other people suffering, I struggle with that.
I totally get it. I think what I see, and I think again, coming from being a psychic for so many years and seeing the high perspective, I always see the end tunnel of why pain is created. And when I think of all the times of my most painful moments, the alchemization of that process has like turned me into a diamond of like unconditional love. So when I say like I love pain, like I know the purpose of it that's directing us back to love. Weirdly, I love feeling sad. I love the feeling of those emotions. I don't like feeling nervous, but I like the feeling of pain because I understand it's actually creating this capacity for me to feel joy. Like when I think of all the experiences, maybe everyone in the room has felt emotion or sadness, it's actually just creating this capacity for us to feel more. So like when we're feeling a lot of pain, we also then can choose to have a huge capacity to feel joy. Because if we're not, we're just these numbed people to any emotion, to happiness or it's just dopamine, and we think it's happiness, but it's literally just us getting dopamine. So when I see pain, I see it as this capacity and this opportunity for us to then choose what we want to feel. So it's not necessarily that, like, I mean, I weirdly find some sensation and I don't know why, but I think it's just, again, a teacher. Like it's like the alchemization of this pain that can be transmuted into love through that journey that's probably offered so many lessons to each person who experiences it, but also giving yourself a lot of grace. Like I think the hardest thing for me was giving myself permission to be joyful and happy. It was so much easier for me to feel pain. It was so much easier for me to cry and feel sad. And so that pain was showing me actually, like, it was reflecting to me love of like, well, if you have this capacity to feel this, why don't you feel deserving of the other side of the street, you know, of the other thing of love? So it was then a whole journey for like a year of then wiring in joy and happiness and love and like being giddy and happy and all these things that we don't really see. But I wouldn't have been able to understand that if I hadn't gone straight into the pain versus just sitting in the middle of not wanting to feel anything at all. So yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Yes, Victoria.
Earlier on, you spoke a little bit about being in a wheelchair when you were a child. Could you tell us a little bit more about that journey and what happened? And because you're on the wheelchair now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I was born, my ball and socket didn't connect. So my legs just didn't work. So my mom, my family were a saint and brought me. I had like 6 surgeries before I was 1. And then they actually realized that it was all wrong. So I had spent the next like 8 years backtracking what had gone wrong. But I think it was something I chose. I think I don't even know. I didn't dive too deep into it. Did it come from my last life? I don't really care. The purpose of it is I then spent this immense amount of time out of my body and being able to activate psychic gifts, and then to understand of, oh, wow, me being so traumatized from my hip down and being in a wheelchair and not being able to do anything without having someone help me go to the bathroom or have a bath or shower or all these different things. It was such a great teacher for me, because then it spent the next portion of my life learning how to move back into my body, to then appreciate my body. Like I appreciate my health so much, and I appreciate the ability to walk and things that I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't have experienced that other side of the coin. So obviously it was uncomfortable in the moment. There was a lot of healing from that, but I think it's like, you can choose to, what is it? Turn lemons into lemonade?
Yes.
Like, yeah, because for years I would really wore it like a badge of honor of pain, of like how sad I felt for so much of my life. But now I see it as like my biggest teacher, and I'm so proud of myself. So I think it's just like transmuting or alchemizing your experience of what that is into what way you want to see it as, that can feed your soul and feed you in love. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Wow. Yeah, so one last question. Aista, yeah? Come to us.
See that I have 2 questions. So lots of different people, different theories on past lives. So I just wanted to hear your perspective on past lives. How do you understand that? If that's somebody you have experienced, they never heard about it. And my second was your own personal, and I'm struggling to kind of find a word for it, like your own routine and techniques. What keeps you grounded and what keeps you sort of, you know, in your own boundaries.
Yeah.
You share your own sort of.
Yeah. I love past lives, and I studied it. Well, I studied shamanism for a year in County Mayo, and I spent a whole year like diving into past lives, and it's something that hugely comes up for readings. Like immediately see how I see past lives is it's present. So if you had a lifetime where, I'll just use the most example one, like burned at the stake as a witch, or like, you know, in a past life your partner was abusing you, it's present in the aura because everything is in the now. So if something in your life is affecting you, and this was something I had a hard time to battle with for ages, because I was like, if people don't believe in past lives, I don't know how they're going to be able to heal this issue, because it is coming from something that they've never experienced in this life, that normal therapy might be like, where did this come from? You know, in your childhood. So I would see this like literal lifetime happening simultaneously here. So I spent a year like going through every shamanic journey of every past life. And the minute I would like clear that and rewrite it, because that's what my guides would make me do. You'd go into a meditative state, you go back to that past life, and you would rewrite it to be a completely different story than what had happened. And it would change in my aura, and then my life experience would literally shift, doors would open up out of nowhere. So when I see past lives, it's present in the field. So if there is something within you that feels like a block, it's like diving into that. But it's not to like scare you or anything, but I see past lives as present. It's just, I see the soul as it has these lockets that take all these experience and hold it all within the breath of the soul. And we can dive into different parts and change them and rearrange them. And that's kind of why I just love, like, you know, we can change all these different things and unlock them. So yeah, that's how I'd see past lives. They're present in the aura until you want to rewrite them. And also that goes for gifts. Like, I feel that most of my psychic gifts, how it happened overnight, and the healing gifts was because I mastered it many lifetimes ago. I don't believe that like it just happened overnight for no reason. And then I was able to remember that of like, oh, this lifetime and this lifetime and that lifetime. So it goes both ways, essentially. Yeah. And then for groundedness, I went from having like such a long spiritual practice every morning of yoga and breath work and all these sort of things, that I'm just like over this idea of like having to sit down and connect to something. And I've actually like rewritten what it means to me. So sometimes it is watching something funny and making myself laugh, or it's just like staring at the sky. Like, I don't have like this strict regiment. What I feel brings me joy is my spiritual practice. But in regards to grounding, like, I love sweating. I love going to the sauna and the gym and eating like really grounded earthed foods. Cacao was so good for me coming back into my body. I went to Guatemala to like train in it with the Mayans because it's like such a grounding practice. It used to be called food of the gods because it would open your heart so much up to the divine. So it really is unique to each person. You just have to like learn what works for you, because what might work for me might not work for you. But giving yourself permission to be grounded is the first step, because a lot of us, we think we have to be in this floaty world. I did, but you don't necessarily have to. So yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Great, well described past lives there, wasn't it? Beautiful description, really nice description. So we're coming to the end there. Has anybody got a burning question before I finish off? Doesn't look like it. What was I? Oh yeah, what was I?
Jesus. I'm joking.
What can I say? What can I say?
TV chat show
Ella, so what are we going to do now? Oh yeah, do you have a message for this room? Is there anything particular coming through at the moment for this room?
Build community, like wherever you live, like make flyers, like I was in the gym yesterday and I literally felt like I was pulled out of my consciousness, and I was looking around at everyone on their phones and their AirPods and like in their own worlds. And I nearly started bursting out crying, because I was like, this is such a hard time to be alive. Like, yes, it has so much convenience, but we're missing the roots of what we're all wired for, which is connection. And I was looking around at everyone in their own heads and feeling certain things. And I just wanted to hug everyone. And I was just like, what do we need? It's community. It's people are so lonely. And I think if there's one thing you can do, like, bring the tribalness back in whatever way you can. Like, I keep getting this vision of just creating flyers, like a meetup in your apartment block once a week, whatever it is that brings you joy. I just think community is what we're all seeking. I really think it is. And that's where we learn the power of all of us coming together. And if you've seen like Avatar, like when they all like join and do like practices together, the force that they create, it's an incredible movie. The force that they create, I would just say it's community, and to not take everything so seriously. I think the spirituality, I was so serious for so many years that I didn't laugh for years. I didn't even know I was funny. And I'm serious. And I remember like going to festivals, and I was like, okay, I'm a light worker. So I would just like be like, I'm here to be a light, and like ignore my desires. And I would just like listen to people like dump on me for hours. And I'd be like, I'm the light, you know, and all this. And it was like all this programming. And I think we're not here to be these like perfect spiritual people. We're here to be ourselves. And I think joy is like such an access point and the gateway point. If you can try anything, it's like laughter yoga. Like, I don't want to sit in ceremony. I want to like just laugh and just like have fun together. So I think just give yourself permission to have more joy and hobbies, and community can be a great aspect for that as well. Because I've had so many people pass in my life, like, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, and it just keeps wiring in the perspective of like, this is such a short time in the monument of our lives, like we're eternal. like enjoy it to the full, glamorize it, rewrite it however way helps your perspective. And I think that that's the biggest gift you can give to yourself. Yeah.
And the affirmation that you mentioned earlier, what was it again? That's a really good affirmation. I am infinite.
Oh, I'm eternal.
I am eternal. I am eternal.
I'm loved. Yeah, no, meditating on I am eternal, because wait, I just want to say this is like, I think we get so stressed in the mundane and the physical and just like everything that's happening. When you say I am eternal, you realize you can't mess it up because you're eternal. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, cool. I like meditating on that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So we're going to finish up now. Before we do, a couple of things to say. Yeah, we have an event. Is anybody going to see John Gray? Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Laura and Derek. Is that all? It's on next Sunday, October 27th, in the Royal Marine Hotel. You know that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? He's really good. He's going to be talking about the divine feminine, divine masculine. Really cool guy. I've interviewed him twice, but I'm going to do a special thing tonight, right? I'm going to give you all, not free tickets, a discount code for a really cheap ticket if you want to go. So if you want to go, it's nearly half price. Yeah. So if anybody wants to go up to Gloria at the end and give her your name, and we'll give you a code which you can use on the website, and you can get it quite a cheap ticket. And Derek's looking at me because he paid full price for the ticket. That's why I asked, is anybody here who bought a ticket? So Derek, I'm going to give you a credit for something. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll massage you at the event or something, you know. We'll introduce you to your twin flame, you know. And then they'll trigger you, and then you'll come back and you know, I was just thinking about that self-care thing. You know, we all wake up in the morning, we're doing our meditation, we're doing our breath work, we're doing all the thing, and you're like stressed out of your mind, doing all the stuff. Where are you going? I gotta go swim, I gotta get in the cold water, gotta in the sauna. It's like, relax. I like when you said what do? Just look at the sky?
Just vibe.
That's encounter self-care now.
Yeah.
But you're right, yeah, just chill out. Chill out. So we've John Gray. Anybody wants to go to that, give your name to Glory, you know all that. And then we have 2 events in November. We have Victoria Mary Clark. She's over there. And she's also very connected to the angelic realm. And she's going to come in and talk about, obviously, I suppose, I was thinking life after Shane, but I mean, there's a lot more to life than after Shane, but that's a, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It might be that you lose the person who means the most to you. And it can, I mean, eventually it's probably going to happen to everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's negotiating that with your soul and living it in a way that's as joyful as possible.
So you'd be talking about grief a bit that night as well. Yeah. And obviously you've had a few chats with him since he left, right?
Yes, I've had quite a lot of chats.
That's great. We'd like to hear how he's doing, you know?
Doing great.
He's doing really good. Shane McGowan's doing great, everybody, in the other dimension. So that's on November the 20th with Victoria. And then November the 13th, I got this top guy in the world about the vagus nerve. Do you know what the vagus nerve is? So his name is Justin Caffrey. Turns out he lives in Greystones, but he's going to come in here and talk about all the top techniques he does for calming your nervous system. He uses breath work and a number of different things, like little rubbing your ears like that. I'll rub your ear for you now in a minute if you want. Totally chills you out. You do Brandon's ears now. Oh yeah, and we're going to go into the bar afterwards. Anybody wants to stick around for a drink? Because you people are really interesting. I'd like to talk to some of you. So don't run off. That's why I brought in the tea break, yeah? And Ella, will you hang around?
Yeah. Can I take a selfie?
Right now of the whole crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial.
Is that what millennials do?
Yeah, selfie. Smile!
Great one.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm taking loads. Huh? I didn't do a selfie. Let Ella do the selfie. I'm not a millennial. Too old for that business. So we'll finish off on a meditation, yeah, before we go. Did I mention all the events? I mentioned all the events. Oh yeah, and we're thinking of having a Christmas party in here. Yeah, on the 16th of December. Yeah, bells and whistles and everything. And they're going to have a few bands and a few comedians and different things, and we'll have a few acts, and we'll invite you all along. So hopefully, because as
if I'm in the country.
Yeah, Ella will be here. As I said, it's all about, as Ella said, it's all about community, yeah? So Good to have you in our community. So let's do our short meditation. So very quick. So I invite you to feel your feet on the ground. And take a deep breath again into your heart center. And as you're in your heart center, you feel that energy of love that we've been talking about tonight, how, you know, that's who you really are, you know, when you drop into that space. So drop into that space right now. Get a sense of who you really are behind all the rest of it. And feel the depth of that peace, that knowing, and that love. And just now we'll think of somebody as a collective, as a group, who might need a bit, who might need a little bit of that at the moment. Anybody in your family or connected to you. And we're just going to send for their highest good, however they wish to use it. Some of this love and appreciation energy towards them. So we'll send that as a collective. You bring it to your mind's eye and your heart's to your heart center, and we'll send it as a group to whoever needs it right now. And feel again our hearts connecting again. See a little light go from heart to heart. And really feel a smile go off on your face and also in your heart center. So you're really stoking up this love and appreciation in your body. See all your cells light up now. And then we'll move it into a sense of 2032. We're not going to go there, but that's when we're going to bring that timeline right there, right now. So get a sense, we all have a sense of how we see the world and how harmonious it could really be and how harmonious it actually is. There's so much good stuff happening. So much good stuff happening all the time. So let's really focus on that and bring it into the present moment. All the kindness that's happening on the planet right now, all the love that's happening on the planet, all the babies being born, all the love being expressed, all the animals, the high frequency that's here right now. You can feel it. Bring it into the present moment. And really anchor that in now to your heart. The knowing that there's so much good stuff on the planet right now. And let that bring a smile to your face. And now come back to your own energy in your heart again. Feel your feet grounded on the floor. Feel yourself really centered, really connected, and part of this oneness, this community, this connection, always. Even when you're on your phone scrolling at home in bed. So see your heart center light up again. Fill the room with the light, fill the city with the light, fill the world with the light. Spread out the light. One more blast. We let that go out. And now feel your feet on the ground, reconnect with yourself, hand on your heart, one deep breath together into our heart center. Okay.